Welcome to Conservative Viewpoint, where the truth always matters. Your hosts are Charlie the Country Conservative and Brendan Statler from The Brendan Statler Show. Now on with the show.
Welcome, everyone, to the Conservative Viewpoint, your trusted conservative news podcast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Country Conservative.
And I'm Brendan Statler of The Brendan Statler Show.
We've got a lineup that's hotter than a Texas summer. In today's episode, we're going to dive into the White House blocking maneuver on how Joe Biden walks. It has become the talk of the town. Social media is buzzing with speculation about his gait, and it's just not because he's hitting the treadmill. Some say it's a sign of failing health, while others argue it's merely a stylistic choice. Either way, we're here to dissect it like a seasonal political surgeon. Is Biden's walk a calculated move to project strength, or is it more like a wobbly tightrope walk? Tune in as we unravel the mystery. Next, we're going to get into Trump versus Biden debate, the ultimate showdown that feels more elusive than a unicorn sighting. Will it ever happen? Well, folks, it's like waiting for a solar eclipse during a leap year. Both camps are circling each other like prize fighters, but the ring remains empty. Trump, with his signature bravado, has been taunting Biden from the sidelines. Meanwhile, Biden's been sharpening his verbal daggers, ready to strike. Will they finally step into the debate arena, or will it be another missed connection, like two ships passing in the night? We'll break it down, dissecting the talking points, and maybe even throw a few jabs in of our own. And speaking of jabs, let's talk about Ben Carson's diagnosis. The renowned neurosurgeon turned politician has raised eyebrows, but the Biden must be suffering from memory loss. Now, folks, this isn't just water cooler gossip. It's a serious allegation. But who better than Ben Carson? Is Biden's mental acuity slipping faster than a banana peel on an icy sidewalk? Or is it all political theater? We'll analyze the evidence, consult or our medical experts, or maybe just Dr. Phil, who knows? We'll give you the lowdown on whether Biden's memory is playing hide and seek. So grab your headphones, buckle up, and join us on the Conservative Viewpoint. We're diving deep into the political trenches, where truth meets opinion, where Ben Carson might just drop a brain teaser or two. So stay tuned, Patriots, and remember, if you enjoy our podcast, hit that follow button faster than a politician flip-flopping on the campaign promises.
That's pretty damn fast.
I'm telling you, it is pretty fast. So let's get this party started. What's going on today, Brendan?
Well, for everyone watching, we've been covering the what's been happening in Ukraine over the last few years and how we're sending an endless amount of money. Well, it appears there is no end in sight. Apparently, the $61 billion was just the beginning, according to the Gateway Pundit. Ukrainian President Zelensky announced his 10-year funding agreement with the U.S. This move will likely supersede President Trump's authority if he gets back in the White House, if this is passed. So what they're trying to do is ensure that Ukraine gets this money when President Trump gets back in, because President Trump will attempt to stop the endless funding of Ukraine. They're trying to undercut that because they are anticipating a Trump victory. So Congress recently passed 3 bills that were $95 billion in foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, and other non-U.S. involved conflict zones around the world. Of the $95 billion, over $60 billion was allocated for Ukraine. And this is, of course, after many other countless spending bills that we have sent Ukraine and have further devalued our dollar and exacerbated the inflation in this country by printing money to send to Ukraine with no clear objective for victory in sight. As a matter of fact, victory seems even more and more less likely. That is why Ukrainian fighting age men are trying to leave the country, because they're tired of fighting. They're tired of their friends and family getting slaughtered. They just want this to end. But the war machine in the Washington swamp does not want it to end. They want it to continue, despite the fact that many more Ukrainians are going to be killed and they have no chance at victory. Well, apparently we're going to be dealing with this for at least another 10 years unless Congress, which I have very strong doubts, puts an end to this. And from what it sounds like I said at the beginning, it doesn't sound like that President Trump will be able to stop this. I don't know if there's some other loophole he could do through executive order. If I knew all that good stuff, I'd be making a lot more money than I do right now. But this is something that has to be stopped. Everybody should be calling their representative right now. We should be blowing up the phones at Capitol Hill right now. This cannot stand. This cannot pass. We have homeless veterans, homeless children who don't have anything to eat that we cannot do anything about, but we continue to send money to this thug Zelensky, who is the same guy that shut down churches he didn't agree with and canceled future elections. This is not a beacon for democracy, as the media would have you believe. There is something very sinister and very evil happening in Ukraine, and we need to get to the bottom of it. We need to say no more funding to Ukraine, and it stops when we start putting pressure on these pricks in Washington, D.C. We need to do that. That is our duty as we, the people. We have to put an end to this.
Oh, that's for sure. We cannot keep doing our taxpayer money going to a worthless fight that is going to be lost by Ukraine.
And it has nothing to do with us. Europe should be kicking in more of this money. It affects them much more than it does us. Why are we funding the majority of this war? Nobody asked that question. And like I said, the worst part of it is they can't even tell us where this money is going. There are certain members in the Freedom Caucus who have tried to ask for an audit. We should know where every penny of that money has gone. That is our money. That is not the government's money. We should know where every cent of that is gone, and we need to shut it off. We have sent way more than we should have.
Ain't that the truth? All right, now, first off, guys, we're going to go ask you guys, but don't forget to check out our Rumble pages. Mine is Country Conservative, obviously, and Brendan's is the Brendan Statler Show here on Rumble. Check out our videos, share them with your friends and family, get the truth out to people. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up for us, guys. It helps our channels grow. And it gets the truth out to more people every time you do that. So if you want, get in there, check them out, share them, everything. Now, I did put a link up in Rumble and Twitter, X, and Facebook, and YouTube. I put a link up in there for anyone that wants to join in on the show, wants to ask a question. Please feel free to hit that link. It'll bring you to our show, and we'll answer any questions you got for you. Now, we can only do one at a time, so feel free. If you don't want to come on to the show, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll be watching. Brendan sees them better than I do, so we'll be watching, and we will get you an answer before the end of the show. I promise you.
Oh, I'm watching it like crazy tonight, Charlie.
I'm sure you are. He's been getting into it with some people online, and I haven't been not as much as good as he gotten today. So definitely, if you guys got a question or comments, even if you just leave them in the comment section under our videos, even if it's bad, it don't matter. It helps us change our show so it fits you guys, because that's what we're doing this for. We're doing it for you guys, not for us. It's just to get the truth out to you guys, because November is right around the corner and the election's coming up, and we've got to get people woke up, and we got to get them to vote Republican.
Absolutely.
So first off, today we're going to get into talking about the White House. and them trying to hide Biden's walking woes. That's right, something else for the White House to cover up and hide from the American people. Now, I'm going to let you watch this video. It's about a minute, 11 seconds long, of them trying to get their entourage to block Joe Biden so you can't see him walk. Now, watch, but you got to watch the way he walks. Watch this.
It's no secret the president has lost his balance on multiple occasions. Biden tripped 3 times on the steps while trying to board Air Force One. Almost everyone heard about his bike fall while on vacation. But more recently, losing the pep in his step just on these small stairs while speaking in the swing state of Pennsylvania, his staff is reportedly stepping in. Biden's team reportedly now has an entourage to walk with him across the White House lawn. The hope is to distract his awkward gait as he's shuffled across the grass on the White House south end to Marine One. According to his aides, these types of incidents highlight his age and health. Since April 16th, he's been accompanied by aides or lawmakers 9 out of 10 times that he's made the walk. Biden's doctor said the president suffers from spinal arthritis and mild sensory peripheral neuropathy of the feet. He now wears Hoka sneakers as well to help avoid more dives.
No, it didn't show the piece that I wanted it to show. This is just super pathetic that now they have to stoop to a level where they are hiding how he walks, because let alone every time that they've had to walk back what he says, what he does, the falling down and all this stuff. It's so embarrassing that anyone has to cover up for a so-called president of the United States on everything he's done and said. Now it's on how he walks. It's no wonder we're an embarrassment on the world stage.
Absolutely. And this is something that they cannot hide anymore. Everybody's starting to see this. And this is why Biden's numbers are in the toilet. People see how feeble this guy is, how weak he is. There are a lot of people that maybe aren't necessarily fans of Trump, that aren't necessarily MAGA, that are going to be voting for Trump on this issue alone. Because at least Trump could walk without falling. At least Trump could complete a coherent sentence without stuttering and stammering all over himself. Can you imagine if they had to do this when Trump was in office? Can you imagine the media reaction? Well, we all remember the media reaction when he was walking down that ramp real slowly because, it had rained and it's a steel ramp and he had dress shoes on. It's anybody that's ever walked on a steel ramp in dress shoes knows how slick that could become. But everybody said it was because of his health. He was so unhealthy. They made it sound like he was at risk of a stroke, like his health was so poor. But with Biden, we have to completely hide him from the people, despite the fact this was supposed to be the most transparent administration ever. If you remember, that's what they always said when they first got in office, when they were first installed into office. They were going to be the most transparent administration ever. But yet we can't even see the supposed president. That's his title anyway, the president in name only. We can't even see him walk. He can't even use the big boy steps to get off Air Force One. He has to use the little steps because they're so worried about him falling. This is an absolute joke, and it's pretty bad. When I don't know what outlet that was that played that, honestly, I can't remember. But we play a lot of Sky News here, and they cover that stuff. That's an outlet out of Australia. Yeah. It's pretty bad when Australian media has more journalistic integrity than the outlets here in the United States. They hold our government accountable better than our own media does. That is pathetic.
Well, I saw today, too, that they showed his teleprompters that he uses. That son of a bitch is huge. It's like 2 foot by 2 foot. It's huge, and the letters are like freaking 3 inches big.
Yeah.
And the son of a bitch can't even read that. That's pretty bad.
4 more years. Pause.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, he's completely fine. He's all there. Nothing to see here.
Oh, yeah. Now, This goes right along with the string of viral moments may signal a mood swing in a likely Trump Biden rematch. Now, past presidential elections have often seen public sentiment shift in response to a major ad campaign, a change in position from a major candidate, unexpected developments abroad, or economic downturns. But sometimes small moments can be pivotal. Now, just like President George H.W. Bush in 1992, he famously checked his watch during a presidential debate against Bill Clinton and Ross Perot. Now, commentators said glancing at your wristwatch in a debate is not considered to be a good move, as it often signifies that a person is bored of the discussion. Now, does that sound familiar to you?
Yes.
Biden checking his watch out when he's at a funeral and he's looking at his watch. Now, that is a disrespect to the people or veterans that had died that he went to, the piece of shit.
Yeah. And the worst thing about that, the most insulting thing, that was during the dignified transfer of the 13 soldiers that were killed because of his screw up in Afghanistan.
Exactly.
You completely screwed up that whole exit, got these soldiers killed. You can't even stand there for just a few minutes and show respect to these soldiers that were killed because of your screw up. How anybody could have voted for this guy after that alone. It just shows the level of respect he has for this country and particularly our military. And it is an absolute zero.
Yep. Now,
it's the most disgusting thing ever.
Yeah. The former Vice President Al Gore, 8 years later, awkwardly approached George W. Bush during the 2000 debate, earning a polite nod of acknowledgement from the Republicans and laughter from the audience, or the infamous President Gerald Ford for his part that slipped while climbing down the steps from an airplane in 1975. And disconcertingly, more serious tumble than that Joe Biden in last year. These movements have long been regarded as defining their respective contests, and they have proved haunting moments for some participants. In the era of digital media now, however, brief clips have become both more persuasive and accessible, with a string of such moments going viral in recent days, potentially capturing a shift in mood as the nation appears headed for a Trump-Biden rematch in November. So these things, and they're small, and people might say they're coincidental, but Joe Biden matches almost every damn one of those guys with the falling down, the checking the watch, all that stuff. So I'm just hoping this goes that way, because if these idiot liberals wake up and actually start voting for Joe Biden, then who knows the way it's go, or if the Democrats are going to cheat. You never know.
Well, they're definitely going to cheat, but like I say all the time, we need to make this too big to rig. Everybody needs to go out and vote. We say this every video, and we're going to keep stressing that till Election Day, because that is the only way that we stop this shitstorm we've been in for the last few years. That's the only way. There's no other way out of this. And I'm telling you guys, if Trump does not win this, I think our country's finished. I don't think we could survive another 4 years. I really don't. We will not recognize this country we call our home if Joe Biden or any Democrat, whoever they decide to put up, because I'm still not convinced it's going to be Biden.
Right.
But we are not going to recognize this place if we deal with this another 4 years. That is why we stress so much to you that you have to go and vote. This is way too important. To be honest, I was very disappointed with Republican voters this past week. Now, the candidate I was working for, our great representative, Bud Cook, here in the 50th District, won. He won his against his primary challenger, which is great news. But there was very low turnout in this area. And we cannot have that. We cannot have that. And honestly, some people might get mad at me for saying this. There are too many lazy voters in this country. There are too many lazy voters. That's just what it comes down to. There's no excuse for not going out and voting. You have to go out and vote. If you don't go out and vote, I don't want to hear you bitch about anything, because you have an opportunity to do a little part to stop it. And it all starts with voting. You know, we have to be out in full force this election, particularly here in Pennsylvania, because I'm assuming the majority of our audience is in Pennsylvania. There is a lot of corruption here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. MAGA is going to have to be out in full force if we want Pennsylvania to go red. And this goes for the whole country. They're going to try to steal. I don't care where you're at. You could be in Texas, West Virginia, Ohio, Florida. They're going to cheat in those states too. So it doesn't matter where you live. You have to go out and vote. MAGA has to be out in full force. That is the only way we stop this mess.
Now, wherever you guys are watching out, whatever social media platform, let us know in the comments what states you guys are in, so we know what we're looking at, because some people's primaries have not went off yet and some people have, because it is important for everybody to get out and vote, even though Trump has already gained the Republican nomination. The numbers that we're seeing in primaries give us some kind of idea what we're looking for in November. So
and not only that, there's like I said, even here in Pennsylvania, but this is every single primary. There are so many important races on the ballot. It's not just about the president. We need more than President Trump to fix this mess. There are more races than President Trump's on the ballot. And that's why I think a lot of people sat out here in Pennsylvania, you know, at least here in the 50th district, you know, south of Pittsburgh, because people just know that Trump already has the nomination. And I think people sat out because people still are in the mindset that the president is the most important and really the only position that the president has the ultimate power, when they don't. There are so many important races on every primary ballot. Primaries are just as important as the general, if not more important. You have to go vote in every single election. I cannot stand when people only vote in the general election or only vote for president. That is lazy, and we don't have any room for lazy people.
Now, what he's talking about with the other things on the ballots is because we got to get Democrats out of power totally at the state, local, and federal level. They cannot control the House. They cannot control the Senate. They can't control anything if we want to get this country back to where it was. So this is why we talk about this and talk about getting out and voting. So don't forget to let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Just put your state down so we know where you guys are tuning in from. Now we're going to get into a nice one here. Ben Carson. He went and interviewed with Newsmax. Biden's condition puts the country at risk. But now, you know, right off the bat, I am going to let you watch this video from Ben Carson and hear it right out of his mouth, because what he believes about Biden medical issues, because who better to tell you this than a neurosurgeon? So you guys got to take a look at this.
His former Housing and Urban Development Secretary and retired super neurosurgeon, Dr. Ben Carson. Dr. Carson, again, we do this. I know you haven't examined Biden, but it doesn't take a doctor to realize he's in decline. And that step that he instituted after some falls was really odd, the way he walked across the grass. And now they're putting handlers, walkers between him and the camera so that you don't see the way he's walking. What do you make of all this, Doc?
His physical and mental condition are really quite concerning. You know, I was in Europe last fall, and I was asking some of the Swiss what they thought about him. They said he's a laughingstock over here. That's very concerning. But even more concerning is the fact that if he is not functioning at top capacity, he puts the entire country at risk. And some people are saying at his age, I know a lot of people who are older than him who are mentally quite agile. There's something more wrong. And this is a problem that could be easily resolved by him doing a mental status test. Why are they afraid to do a mental status test? If they were so certain that he's sharp as a tack, that would not be an issue at all. So obviously something's being hidden here. But you don't have to be a doctor to see that he has declined.
Now, it says it all right there. A neurosurgeon is going to tell you something. You're supposed to believe him, right? Because that's his job. That's what he's done. That's what he went to school for. Now, we all know that, but we're not a medical professional, but Ben Carson is a very pronounced neurosurgeon. So let me know what you guys think about Joe Biden's condition. Do you think that he is fit to be president of this free world or not? Leave your answer in chat.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a medical professional to see that this guy's cheese is sliding off his cracker. I mean, it's just it's so obvious to anyone that looks at it. And I'm not just saying this because I hate Joe Biden. if Donald Trump was doing this, I would say the same exact thing. If you cannot walk up a flight of steps, you can't complete a coherent sentence. You can't find the steps when you're leaving a stage, and you're reading pause off the teleprompter. You're saying something else stupid like 2 words made in America. You're obviously not there mentally. You shouldn't be president. You shouldn't even be running a lemonade stand at that point. Like this guy is the last person I would pick to lead anything.
Yeah, because I was an EMT ages ago, and I worked with a ton of Alzheimer patients and dementia patients and stuff like that. And it's not hard to figure out what is wrong with the person. You could just watch their actions and what they do and how they talk and how they fly off the handle so easy. It all goes to that. And he has every symptom of those. So
yeah, he absolutely does. And when he talks, he almost sounds drunk half the time. And when he's stuttering and stammering, the media likes to say that he has a stutter. Well, he never had a stutter before. Like, do people just develop stutters all of a sudden? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it's just it sounds very unlikely.
He's had a stutter his whole life.
He has? I never heard it. Even when he talked as vice president and as senator, I never heard him.
He's actually.
I never heard him stutter.
Yeah, he's grown out of it to a point where he can control it unless he gets worked up. And
he must be always worked up because he's. Yeah,
I had a friend that did that too. He's no longer.
I didn't know.
But
I didn't know if people could just. I never knew he had one because, like I said, I've seen him talk, as a senator and when he was vice president, and I never noticed him stutter. But now it's just like that.
Now you'll see him if you see him now because he does get a little bit. You can see it, but he controls it pretty well. But let's get on to this. Where's it at here?
I hope that guy's talking. I hope that guy's talking about you and not me in the comments.
I'm hoping he's talking about Biden.
Certainly hope it's not me. I don't know what kind of show you're running here, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to be part of it if this is going on here. Good night.
It's getting good. Thanks, Poop Liquor. That cheered me up. That's good. Yeah, Steven's back here. How you doing, Steven? We missed you past couple shows. Now we're going to get into Biden makes a major announcement in an interview, and Trump's team responds. But one day after the New York Times criticized installed President Joe Biden for actively and effectively avoiding questions from independent journalists during his term, the whole 3.5, almost 4 years, he's been dodging questions. And that dumb twit KJP sits there and says he's been the most transparent, like you said, in the world. Yeah, he's full of shit.
No. Yeah.
Biden has been
Binder. That's her name.
Exactly. Biden has been looking into rehabilitate his image as a fake president to scared. He's too scared to take tough questions. Now, in a statement on Thursday, the Times warned that systematically avoiding interviews and questions from a major news organization doesn't just undermine an important norm, it also establishes dangerous precedent that future presidents can use to avoid scrutiny and accountability, which this Biden administration dodges questions all the time and puts all accountability on someone else. They never take responsibility for any of this. Now, in the whole 3.5, 4 years they've been in here, they have dodged everything. So I wanted you to watch this video on Joe Biden saying that about talking about debating Trump. Now, I want you to watch this real quick here. What is this? It's about only a minute long. So
now, of course, he will have a chance to square off against Donald Trump head-to-head in a debate. But remember, tough guy Joe, he fell 3 times, once going up the big boy stairs. And then when he got up there, his spokespeople said, oh, it was very windy outside. I felt the wind myself. That's probably why Joe was tripping and falling all over himself. Anyway, there are typically 3 debates in any presidential election. I'm glad this came up on the show. And he told Howard Stern that he's happy to debate Trump. He just doesn't know when. Well, we'll believe it when we see it. At least one good thing did come out of that interview if that debate happens. But even Biden's closest allies seem to think that the president is just not capable of debating Trump. Remember, he couldn't even do the Super Bowl interview. It is no secret that Joe Biden is not doing well mentally or physically. And I'm sure that if he does have a debate, they'll just jack him up with Red Bull or caffeine or whatever he took before the State of the Union. That's when we saw jacked up
cocaine.
Joe.
Now, you see, you heard him talk about him being on Howard Stern and how he's willing to debate Trump. But Biden said he would be happy to. But you know, his puppet masters will not allow this ever to happen. But then he goes on to say that he is somewhere, but he might do it. I don't know when, but he's happy to debate him. And that's what Biden told Howard Stern. What a washed up piece of shit during an interview on his show. But you know what? As you know as well as I do, that he can't debate anyone without an earpiece or a huge teleprompter like I was talking about earlier, and telling him what to say. And then half the times he doesn't even get that right. So
yeah,
even if you guys in chat think, do you guys think this is ever going to go? You think they'll ever debate or what? Let me know in chat. What do you think, Brendan?
I think they're going to eventually. I think they're going to have no choice but to do it. But they're going to delay it as long as possible. Or there could be another aspect. This is the only way I see it not happening, is if we have another election variant virus, and that would be their ticket out of it, which is a very real possibility. But barring that scenario, I kind of think they're going to have to. I don't see how you could get out of a presidential debate. I mean, has there ever been a presidential election where there wasn't a debate between the Republican and Democrat candidate? I don't think there's ever been one, not that I could remember. So how are they going to justify doing that, even if the media covers for them and creates some bullshit story to why they couldn't debate? People are going to see right through that, and that's going to lose them even more votes, if that's even possible, because they probably only got about 100 people that would vote for him at this point if the election was done legitly. But anyway, I think they're going to, but they're going to delay the process as long as possible.
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to do it willingly. I'll say it that way.
Yeah. Now, we do have Trump said he will debate Biden anywhere, anytime, any place. And you know when Trump says something, he means it. And Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, his personal Truth Social on Friday, he posted that he is ready to debate installed President Joe Biden. He didn't say installed. I did, because Biden's installed like a toilet. And he said anytime, any place, anywhere. Earlier this month, he said this. So I want you to take a listen to what Trump had to say himself. Listen to this.
I'm thrilled to be back in Wisconsin with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. That's what you are. You built this country. You can see we have an empty podium right here to my right. You know what that is? That's for Joe Biden. I'm trying to get him to debate. I'm calling on Crooked Joe to debate anytime, any place. We'll do it anywhere you want, Joe, so that we can discuss in a friendly manner the real problems of our country, of which there are many, instead of trying to have corrupt prosecutors fight your battles for you. That's no good. We got all these corrupt prosecutors, deranged Jack Smith, all of them. These are deranged people. Let's debate outside, Joe. Let's go have a good, solid, friendly debate, just a friendly, where our country's going, because our country's going to hell, and we're not going to let it happen. You know, the most...
So you know what?
That's
Trump's,
great.
I know, I love it. He says it. He says what he means what he says. So Trump's top two campaign advisors sent a letter to an independent commission that's normally sanctions such events, calling for an accelerated debate, the timetable, holding more than the usual three, starting them early in the campaign cycle. Trump suggests Monday evening, Tuesday evening, or Wednesday evening, or at his rally in Michigan, a state that Biden is in the process of destroying with his EV mandates. Now, in the alternative, he's in New York City today, so although probably doesn't know it. So I'm stuck in one of the many court cases that he instigated in election interference. This is coming from Trump against his political opponents as they continue this lousy witch hunt. Now, they do have a first. I told you this earlier, Brendan, that they have one scheduled for September 16th, followed by one October 1st, and the final debate October 9th. Now, the one on October 9th, the debates are held at the Texas University in San Marcos, Virginia State University in Petersburg, and the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Yeah, we'll see if any of this even happens, because you know Joe Biden's puppet masters will make some kind of excuse that he can't go.
Yeah, I think so. But like I said, I think eventually they're going to cave and they're going to let him debate and hope that the media saves him, because we all know what the media response will be no matter what. Even Biden could walk up there, fall down and shit his pants and be carried off on a gurney, and they would say he won the debate. I mean, the media will cover for him no matter what. So I think eventually they're going to have to let him debate, because I think that's going to be, I mean, it's politically bad for him either way you look at it, honestly. I mean, this is a losing battle. If you let him debate, you lose because he's a bumbling idiot, and everybody's going to see it on full display as if we haven't seen enough of it over the last few years.
No shit.
Or you don't let him debate, and then people start to see, you know, there's something really wrong with this guy if he can't debate, and then they're going to go and vote Trump. So either way, it's a losing battle for the Biden team. But I hope that it happens, and we have to live stream this. I saw you mention this in chat. We have to do a live stream for every debate if there is debates, because Trump is going to absolutely annihilate Biden like he did back in 2020, but I think it's going to be even more. It's going to be even worse for Biden, just because Biden has been the quote-unquote president this time, and he established this even shittier record than he had, you know, all of his 50 years in Congress and 4 years as vice president, or whatever the actual numbers are, way longer than anyone should be in public office. Trump's going to annihilate this guy, and I think the media is going to have a hard time covering for him. They're still going to do it, but it's not going to be an easy task. Either way, it's a lose for Biden, in my opinion, regardless of how this goes. Biden should have kept his mouth shut on the Howard Stern show, which, you know, probably luckily for him, not many people listen to Howard Stern anymore, I don't think. I mean, who wants to listen to a guy that looks like a dirty Q-tip anyway? But that's a conversation for another time. But no, this is a loss for Biden either way this goes.
Oh yeah, but you know, definitely we are definitely going to hit that live stream if this happens. So guys remember that.
Sure.
if we get these debates and they actually have him go, they'll jack Biden up on Red Bull and B12 shots and shit like that beforehand, and give him an
Cocaine,
earpiece he can't see. Yeah, sniff a
Hunter,
couple lines.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hunter's cocaine. Hunter will give him some good stuff.
Oh yeah, he'll line him up for Dad, and he'll be one beside of him. But we will definitely hit that if at all possible. So
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to the corrupt, weaponized DOJ and how they refuse to turn over the HERS tapes from Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur. Now, the Congress is facing obstacles to its various investigations into the Biden administration and its broad impeachment investigation. The DOJ's decision this week to refuse to turn over the audio tapes of Joe Biden's interview could set up a new fight between the administration and Congress. Well, I got a short video here, but I'm going to let you listen to that real quick, and then we'll come back. We'll talk. Let's listen to this.
We also have some news around the special counsel report into President Biden. The DOJ is saying that it will not release the audio of his interview with Robert Hur. So what more do we know about that decision?
Yeah, the DOJ in a letter to the committee today said that the committee hadn't demonstrated a need for the audio recording of the interview, given that the transcript has already been made public. The DOJ said it was concerned that, quote, the committee's interests may not be in receiving information in service of legitimate oversight or investigatory functions, but to serve political purposes that should have no role in the treatment of law enforcement files. I should point out, though, Yamiche, that news organizations, including NBC News, are seeking access to that audio because we believe it's a public record and we think the Justice Department doesn't have a right to withhold it. We believe that audio could add context to the transcript and to the question of whether Special Counsel Rob Hur accurately characterized President Biden's memory lapses and mental capacity during that interview.
Oh, most definitely. Now, the refusal marks the second time the DOJ has declined to provide these audio tapes to Congress, though it has turned over the transcript, and you heard it in there. But anyone can type something and say something, but there's no proof unless you get that audio. So what the DOJ is doing is hiding everything, that they will not turn over the actual audio tapes. Now, the DOJ you heard on there argues that the record of accommodation towards the committee has been more than enough so far. The department has provided 2 classified documents, the transcripts of special counsel interview with President Biden and correspondence related to that report. But like I said, if you don't hand over the actual evidence, so everyone gets to hear it for themselves, and not just you type it on a computer and you print it out and say, here, you don't know if he's lying or not. Now,
yeah, well, here's the buried lead, Charlie. They just said it in their response. They don't want to release the transcript because they said it could be used for political reasons. Why would the DOJ care about that? That should be transparency. So they're just going to prove the point that the DOJ is weaponized. The DOJ is partisan, as if you need more evidence from the other than the Moscow show trials that they're putting Trump through. They don't want to put it out because it would be bad for Biden. What could be the argument for not releasing that to the public? This is involving the supposed president, who we're led to believe is the president of the United States, where they talk about his mental decline, that he is a feeble, weak old man, as it was listed in the transcript in Hur's report. I mean, why don't we have the audio? What could be the reason? They don't want to release the audio because it is very bad news for Biden and very good news for the Trump team. And the DOJ, they're a bunch of partisan hacks that do not want Trump back in the White House. They have become an arm of I would say the Democrat Party, but it really is the uniparty in the Washington swamp.
Right. Now, this week we'll ask, the Republican Party, will they actually push this issue, or are they just going to let it drift off to the side like they do everything else and hold nobody accountable?
Yep.
Because they haven't held anything accountable at all in the 3.5 years. So this is what gets me. It's a pain in the ass. But now here we go again with the Biden administration blaming other countries and interfering with elections. But this time, believe it or not, they went to China and they told CNN that the U.S. has seen evidence of China attempting to influence upcoming elections. Now, I got a little video on this one too, and this just goes to prove how pathetic Biden administration is. Listen to this.
Concerns about China meddling in U.S. elections. Listen to our conversation on that topic.
I want to ask you about a commitment that CNN has reported President Xi made to President Biden when they met in November. We've reported that he told President Biden that China would not interfere in the upcoming presidential elections in the United States. But since then, there have been reports of online Chinese accounts that have falsely mimicked Trump supporters. Do you believe that these accounts violate President Xi's commitment?
What I can tell you is this. President Biden was very clear about that with President Xi, and I repeated that today in my meetings.
You repeated what?
That any interference by China in our election is something that we're looking very carefully at and is totally unacceptable to us. Look, it's something we're tracking very carefully. I can't speak to these specific reports. I can say that as a general matter, we've been very clear with China, don't do it.
But they're not violating the commitment yet, as far as you can tell?
Well, again, I'd have to look at the specific reports that you're referring to, but we have seen, generally speaking, evidence of attempts to influence and arguably interfere, and we want to make sure that that's cut off as quickly as possible.
Now, it is noteworthy that he said that there is evidence of China attempting to influence and arguably interfere in U.S. elections just months after President Biden and President Xi had that conversation. It's clear that China is not heeding those warning calls from the United States. He also said that it's the concern that China is seeking to mirror what Russia is doing in terms of influence efforts in the United States, trying to sow division that are already apparent in the U.S.
Now, did you hear him say the word "don't"? This is what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and KJP and this idiot now says, "Don't." How many times have they said "don't" to all these countries like Russia? Don't invade Ukraine, but you can do little. What did they do? They invaded Ukraine. To China, don't fly the balloons over our. What do they do anyway? They fly the balloon. This is so pathetic. But doesn't this sound familiar? Like the Russian 2.0 Russian hoax, but with China this time. Now, every time an election rolls around, we have to blame another country for interfering, just so when they cheat, that they can blame it on somebody else. It's perfectly played out of the Democratic playbook, and it happens every time an election comes around.
Well, I think they're setting up the narrative for when Trump is the winner this upcoming election. They're going to say that it was China and Russia. I mean, you heard what I don't know what her name is because I try not to watch CNN too much. I mean, although I do, but nobody else watches CNN, so her name's not important. But she said that China is, however she worded it exactly, is trying to mimic what Russia has done as far as interfering in U.S. elections. What is the one country they always blame for Trump's presidency, Trump's victory in 2016? It's always Russia. They are setting the narrative for when Trump is declared the winner. They're going to say that he's an illegitimate president, that China and Russia put him in the White House. Then all of a sudden, denying elections is going to be okay. It's going to be the noble thing to do. It's not going to be a threat to democracy, even though we're not a democracy. We're a republic, but it's not going to be a threat to our nation anymore. In fact, it's going to be patriotic again all of a sudden to question elections. They're setting the narrative. They know that they are completely screwed this election. They're going to try to discredit Trump's second term right from the gate, and they're setting the foundation for it right now with that. Because just think about this for a minute. Anytime you question the 2020 election, you're called a conspiracy theorist and you're banned from YouTube. But now they could say, to China, don't interfere in our elections. Well, how in the hell do we keep him from interfering in 2020? 2020 was so perfect, apparently.
Whoa, yeah.
It's just, how can people make this argument? Like, liberals will say, and I've went back and forth with some of them before. So do you believe 2016 was stolen? I said, yes, I believe 2016 was stolen. They tried to steal it from President Trump. They tried to steal it for Hillary Clinton, but they did not count on Trump having the support that he did. So we were able to cancel out the steal, because what were all the polls that night? Nobody gave Trump a chance. Nobody. I didn't even believe that Trump had a chance. It was like a 97% chance Hillary Clinton would win. They fell asleep at the wheel. The people went out and voted, and Donald Trump was president. And right away, it was the Russia narrative. Then they steal the election for Joe Biden in 2020. Then all of a sudden, we're not allowed to question elections anymore. They know that Trump's going to win this election. They're already setting the foundation for saying that a foreign government put him in the White House.
Ain't no doubt there. Now we're going to get into the Supreme Court questioning Donald Trump's obstruction counts while weighing in on the immunity charges. So going to watch this video real quick about that, because this could be a good thing for Trump if it all unfolds the way I hope it is. So listen to this.
Supreme Court is hearing two big cases involving criminal charges against former President Donald Trump over the next 2 weeks. Next week, the court is going to take up whether the former president can even be prosecuted for his efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss to President Joe Biden. Today, in the courtroom, the justices heard arguments about whether a charge of obstructing an official proceeding, which is a charge that's faced by Trump and hundreds of participants in the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. The justices had tough questions for the Justice Department about whether the law, which was adopted in the wake of the Enron financial scandal more than 2 decades ago, can be used against January 6 defendants. It wasn't immediately clear in more than 90 minutes of arguments exactly how the court would come out. There were some justices on the conservative side of the court who seemed to favor a broad ruling that might prohibit the government from using the charge at all against January 6th defendants. Another possibility is that the court could take a more measured approach and require lower courts to evaluate on a case-by-case basis whether the charge could be applied. The court's decision in the obstruction case is expected by late June. The court will hear an argument next week in the case about whether Trump is himself immune from prosecution. And a decision in that case also could come by late June, although the special counsel Jack Smith has asked the court to decide that case on a much faster time frame, which might allow a trial to be held before the November election if indeed the court finds that Trump is not immune from prosecution.
Now, this could be a big decision, if they come back right. And this could have a huge impact on hundreds of defendants that are charged in a Capitol protest. Now, one of the defendants, a former police officer, has challenged the obstruction law and an invalid for the Capitol riot defendants. Now, Congress adopted a 2002 law that, in wake of Enron scandal, to discourage document shredding, but prosecutors contended it would apply to obstructing official meetings and lawmakers of January 6th. That now the high courts limits the obstruction law to the January 6th people. And now this could help Trump, who faces 2 counts of obstruction in his federal election, but more than 350 to 1,350 January 6th defendants face the same charge. So now, if we know this was all a setup by the Democrats and the FBI and the Biden administration. Every one of us know that. If it was anybody else, if they need to be released. But except for the ones that actually did assault the officers and stuff like that, they need to be punished. And they stop using our taxpayer money for all this because they've spent millions of dollars on this fraudulent charges against Trump. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, all you need to know about January 6th is this. When they had the fake kangaroo court committee, when the Democrats still held the House, so I guess they still kind of hold the House if we're being honest, but when that committee was still formed, they did not allow any opposing voice to speak. And this broadcasted on every major news outlet. They even had it on local channels. They were interrupting local programming, and it was breaking news like it was the OJ trial. They did not allow any opposing voice. It was all voices that were saying Donald Trump led an insurrection. So why wouldn't you hold a legitimate process if there was really an insurrection? It was all to drive a narrative that Donald Trump led a bloodthirsty insurrection to overthrow the government, and that is not at all what happened. Actually, there were people that breached the gates, the little gates that were set up. We've all seen the videos, while Trump was still giving his speech. This was all coordinated. This was all coordinated through the deep state, the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, all of them. They're all involved in it. And remember this, Donald Trump asked Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House at the time, who was in control of Capitol security, he would authorize the National Guard for January 6th. She denied it. She said she didn't want extra security. He said the same thing to Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C. She also denied it. They didn't want security there because they wanted that footage. They wanted the footage of the actors dressed as Trump supporters to be on every news outlet on a loop. This was all coordinated. It was all staged. This was not an insurrection. And this case is going absolutely nowhere, by the way, for a number of reasons. One, Donald Trump was acquitted in his second impeachment. You cannot prosecute a president criminally unless they are first found guilty in an impeachment hearing. Go ahead, Charlie. Sorry, I know we're late on time.
Yep, we're going to get the last thing out real quick. Now, the Texas border, you know, it can't go without mentioning the border every time we have a show. Now, the guards and everybody, the Border Patrol agents are taking fire now because of the cartel members down there. And I'm going to show you this real quick video of this. And this is stuff that we got to stop come November. If we don't get them in and Trump doesn't get in to close this border, this is what our poor Border Patrol is going to look like. Listen, watch this.
He's getting ready to fire.
Joe Biden has done nothing to build any type of border barrier. The only thing he's ever done with border barriers is try to tear down the ones that Texas has put on our border.
Now, one law enforcement source was able to confirm for our Leland Vitter that the video is authentic and that cartels in this area are often competing for trafficking and for smuggling routes there. Mexican authorities do say that the shooting happened Friday night, and again, because it was so close to the U.S. border, it was about 5 miles from Brownsville, Texas. That is why these consular officials got this alert. We're going to put it up for you on the screen here. Basically telling them to restrict their movements to home, work, and U.S. ports of entry during daylight hours, and then to shelter in place starting at 7 o'clock at night and into the morning. Again, Mexican state officials confirming that in that shooting, 4 people were arrested and 3 were killed by the Mexican army. And among those 3 was one cartel leader that had been on the U.S., on at least Homeland Security's radar for quite some time.
This is why we have to get November. We have to win November. This has got to stop. Our Border Patrol agents shouldn't have to put up with this no matter what. We got to get Trump in there to give these guys the help that they need because the Biden administration won't do it.
Yeah, that video says it all. I mean, that should be enough reason to go vote Trump this November. This has to stop. We definitely have terrorists in this country that would kill every single one of us and will if they get the opportunity. I don't care what your opinion is about Trump. This should be enough for you to vote for Trump.
Most definitely. So thank you for joining us in this riveting episode of the Conservative Viewpoint. As we wrap up our discussion today, let us reflect on the twists and turns of the political landscape. We talked about Joe Biden's horrible what he talks and walks and everything, and they're hiding everything that he does for him. And we talked about the elusive Trump versus Biden debate and showdown. It's going to be, feels like mythical as a Bigfoot riding a unicorn. Will it ever happen? Who knows? We're going to have to find out. But alas, the debate stage remains empty, like a deserted saloon in a spaghetti warehouse. But maybe that we're waiting for the right moon or something to happen so they guys can get onto this stage. So we'll keep our popcorn warm and our fact checkers on standby. And speaking of fact checkers, we address the fake news media, the elusive creatures that thrive on sensationalism and half truths. Yes, folks, it exists on both sides of the aisle, whether it's spinning the narratives about Trump's hair or Biden's bedtime story. Disconcernment is our superpower. So let's shift through the noise, verify our sources, and keep our baloney detectors finally tuned in. As we sign off today, remember, join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. for another great episode of the Conservative Viewpoint. And that the Conservative Viewpoint isn't just about the left versus right. It's about critical thinking, spirited debates, the pursuit of truth. So until tomorrow, stay informed, stay curious, and keep your political compasses calibrated. This has been Charlie, the Country Conservative, and Brendan from the Brendan Statler Show, bidding you a farewell. Thank you for keeping it real and keeping it conservative. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.